One of the biggest mistakes that I've seen homeowners make when trying to create their tropical, beautiful garden is not quite knowing what you're looking for before you get started. You know, maybe picking up some plants and trees, popping them in the ground, or hiring a landscape contractor, and then kind of just being dissatisfied with the overall look because you kind of didn't zero in yet on what you're looking for your space. So in today's video, as a landscape designer for 20 plus years, I wanted to share with you two of the most common tropical styles that I work with day in and day out. And then I want to kind of share with you guys what that looks like and the formula to create that, no matter what zone you're in. I'm going to mention, of course, plant and tree material that we have here in zone 10A, but for you Niners out there, I'm going to pop in some cold tolerant materials, hopefully to help you visualize and create the same type of style and know it's less to do with the actual plants and trees chosen, but more to do with the styles, the textures. There's a formula to it, and I'm hoping that you could just recreate that no matter where you are in the world. So we're going to break that down for you in today's video. Before we do, please like, subscribe, and if you're looking for some landscape help here in the state of Florida, give us a shout. We are a landscape design and installation company, and we'd love to help you with your garden. But now let's jump right in. So starting with our first style, tropical formal. So I love tropical formal, especially for front yard gardens. You know, those of you guys who live in HOA communities and you want some tropical jam, you want kind of that vibe or that feel, but you don't want it to look like the rest of the neighborhood. You don't want it to be kind of more construction or production grade. You want some interest going on. So tropical formal is just that. So the formula for that is I start with the anchor trees first. So usually it is on the corners of the house. So each corner of the house gets some kind of supportive tree feature. That is like your columns in the garden. That could be foxtail palms. For you up north, it could be queen palms. For us down here, it could be royal palms, you know, Sylvester palms, something that's going to give you some impact, some interest, some weight in the garden, something that's going to get at least 20 foot tall, but maybe even taller. So that way that'll be your big umbrella in the garden. And then if your house is long enough, I usually try to do a break in the middle there. So I'll have column trees here with some height, and then something that drops down a little bit more in the middle. That could be a Christmas palm. It could be a cabata palm. For those of you guys up north, it could be a large European fan palm. It could be a Copernicia alba. It could be something that's not going to get quite so tall, but still give you some impact right in that middle to give it a break. And you'll understand why we need those breaks in just a moment. And then the next one would be your accent features. So accent features are very important in a tropical formal garden because you need something to give you a break, to kind of give you that interest, that lower interest. That's usually something like a structure in the garden. You guys know, if you know me, you know I love false agaves. False agaves are a great intermediate structure because they're nice and vertical. For those of you guys up north, king sagos, orange birds of paradise, just love a little European fan palm, something that's going to give you that upright feel, something that you can imagine you would light in the garden. It'll give you a great shadow effect. I usually put those like under windows or right at entranceways of a pathway in the front, or you know, something along the lines of that gives you just one more tier.
Hey you guys, Bryce here. I just wanted to pop this in real quick and ask if you could like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps show your support and keep these videos going. Also, if you're enjoying the video, please drop a true gardener in the comments. And if you're looking for any help with designing your space, or you have some questions, or you want a master plan created, or you even want a design and installation done, head over to our website. We have 3 short videos that break down our 3 services so you can see which option works best for you. In those videos, we'll go over pricing and locations for the state of Florida. And if you're looking for any products mentioned in this video, we have a link that takes you directly to our Amazon storefront where you should be able to find everything. And also, if you're looking to build your own plant palettes, we also have a link that takes you to our book that helps walk you through designing your own space. Thanks so much for your support, and let's get back to the video.
And the next feature is going to be your drifts. Now, your drifts of plants, don't confuse that with hedges. Drifts are, you know, big, long groupings that swoop in and out. And what I mentioned earlier about having those accents and those intermediate trees in the garden, the drifts go in and out of those. They're highlighting those areas. So you might have a drift to the back of your palm tree and a drift to the front of your false agave. Those drifts connect with one another, and there's a nice dividing line between the drifts. drifts. Now, I normally, when I landscape drifts, I'll landscape and curve around the rear side with one color and texture, and then drift to the front with another color and texture. If I have a false agave, I'll use that to create two different drifts. So I'll do a front drift in the front with maybe one color or texture, a small leaf, little leaf. Then I'll do another more solid impact to the back to give that false agave some framing. And then to do additional framing, you can do something like foxtail ferns on either corner to give a little bit of a different texture. So texture is just as important in a tropical formal garden as it is in an informal garden, which we'll get to in just a moment. What makes it interesting, what makes it clean line, but it also makes it interesting. Now, what you want to make sure your drifts do is you want the separation. So you take one drift and then there's a break. It doesn't have to be a huge one, 1.5 2 foot break. Then it goes down to a different drift. That different drift is either taller or shorter, but that different drift has a variation in it, and then you have a break and it goes into another drift. And you want to make sure those drifts intermingle with each other in a way, not next to each other, but you want to make sure they curve this way and curve that way. So that way, when you're looking at this fully matured, it doesn't look like just a row of hedge and a row of hedge and a row of hedge to give you those layers. The curves, the movement in the garden around those features, around that accent, around that Christmas palm, that's what gives you that interactive feeling. That's what gives you that tropical vibe. And really what you're doing is you're using a different variety of hedge materials to create that. But because you've got a mix of color, a mix of texture, and a mix of height, that gives you that tropical vibe, that tropical look. It's less about the actual plant species, more about what it offers you in the garden. And you want to make sure it matches those things in the garden. Some of my favorite plant material I love to use in my drifts are gold mound, foxtail ferns, dwarf ixoras, blew my minds, little rubies. Those are all different mixtures, different heights, different textures, and they really all come together as just a nice tropical vibe when they're pulled together in just that way. Some of my favorite taller drifts that I like to use as the backdrop of a garden would be something like, copper leaves. I love red copper leaves, Java white copper leaves. That gives you a nice feel. Or Sanchisia, that gives you a nice big soft feel to the back. Could be something a little bit more aggressive like silver buttonwood to the back or hibiscus to the back. Something that's going to give me that height, that pronounced height that's going to stay there. Something that's never going to interfere with my lower drifts, like pentas, liriope, holly fern. That's all going to stay as my ground cover down below. That's kind of what I mean, is you want to make sure your layers really do have a nice drastic build depending on the areas that you're working with in the garden. You obviously don't want something to get 10 foot tall in front of a window, but you kind of see where I'm going with that. So now we are off to the tropical informal garden, which is totally my jam, as you can tell from behind me. That is more of a jungle-inspired type of garden. Now, the steps are very similar, believe it or not. There's just a little bit more to them. This is actually a little bit of harder design to create, so I'm going to break this down the best that I possibly can. You still want your frame trees. So you still want your trees, your tall canopy trees, because you're not just creating a wall of a garden, you're creating a habitat for tropicals to live under. So you're creating a microclimate. So you want tall palm trees. That could be coconut palms. It could be queen palms. It could be Sylvester palms. It could be royal palms. It could be anything that's going to give you a large canopy spread to it. You're going to want several of them to kind of create almost like a wall effect, because what you're doing is you're creating a big, almost like a buffer planting of tropicals. So you're going to want a lot of that height going on here, and then you're going to want your filler trees. Now, filler trees are the things that go in between those. They get staggered in between those. And that could be something like white bird of paradise for you guys up north. It could be something like what I have here in Zone 10A, which is the Cabata palm. It could be areca palms. It could be sugar palms for you guys up north. It could be anything that's going to kind of give you a dividing break, because you're going to have your height. Now you need your under tier to give you a place for your eye to drop, because when you're creating a tropical informal garden, you're going to do a leaf on leaf type of look. So you need, unless you have tons and tons of room, you need to kind of stagger your big trees with your medium-sized trees and then work your way forward that way. So your intermediate trees are very, very important for an informal garden. And it's less about the tree than it is about what the tree offers for you. So it's got to fit your space. I'll go go more into that later. So now that we have the filler trees down, the next thing to do is find your accents. You're gonna have certain areas of a garden, maybe your highlight areas, maybe an area where a window looks out or an area where your door looks out, but you definitely want several accents throughout the garden like we have the Dayun palm here. This is a perfect accent feature for a tropical garden. And because you know you like that jungle vibe, what the best accent to incorporate into a garden is one that's vertical, one that has a little bit of stemming at the base, because that gives you room for your next tier. So right here we have a Dayun palm. It's barely giving us room yet because it's still somewhat young, but it's going to get more of a stem to it, allowing us to put bird's nest ferns all the way around it as that grows in, because that's going to offer its own set of coverage. So that way I can pile in material down below, like the anthuriums, the bird's nest ferns, some bromeliads, things along those lines. So accents in the gardens are crazy important, because you need a spot to put in your next tier, which your next tier are patches of ground cover. And that's exactly what it is. So for example, we have the dwarf variegated arbicolas right here. They make a nice pop of interest, a nice pop of brightness. Then over here, we have another pop of brightness with the bloom of your peace lilies. Now, patches, don't confuse that with drifts. Now, if I were to do drifts in the garden, the drifts would be all around the focal point. So I'd have one solid drift of one group variety here and a solid group to the back there, highlighting the accent features in the center, right? But in this area, because of it being tropical informal, I actually just have a little patchwork, and I like to break down the patches in size, color, and texture. That way I can make sure that it doesn't look like one mesh, even though that's the kind of vibe that I like. For example, the farfugium to the back, that's gonna give us our size. That's gonna give us our size and a different leaf texture with that big giant leaf. Then down below, we have a nice little clustering of bromeliads, and that gives us a different texture, a different color variation. And then right here, we have the holly fern for a smaller size and a completely different texture, and it draws the color down, gives us a green backdrop to all this color. And then of course, you just rinse and repeat that. You see that I have a different grouping. I've got some devil's backbone right here to give us a different size. And then you see the pattern start to happen again with the color and then the texture mix. And you just rinse and repeat that type of framework all the way through the garden until you get exactly that format that you have. You need to make sure that the size is there. The texture is a big part of changing that. Whether you're from the north and your texture might be something like foxtail ferns because they can handle that cold temperature, where we might have something a little bit more delicate in our realm. But the goal is to have something that really does give you that change, that gives you that interest, that variation in the garden. All right, you guys, so size, color, texture, that is just kind of the method. Rinse and repeat that throughout your garden. Get your framework in, your trees in, your accents in, and then put your patches in, and then follow that over and over again. Balance that according to your zone. I hope some of the zones that we popped up on the screen and some of the options that we have there helped you kind of think about it a little bit differently. Maybe take some of those plants and trees and introduce them into your garden because they suit a purpose. Maybe not because that is the first plant that you chose because it's not Hawaii there, but it's something that's going to give you that same feel, that same vibe. And that's the goal, because tropical styles, you know, no matter which style that you like, it's the feeling that you're trying to create, not necessarily the specific plant and tree that you're working with. So I hope that helps, and I hope that helps you guys break that down into a format that you can now convey to your landscaper, or you can start working within your own garden. All right, you guys, so I hope today's video was a good one for you and you enjoyed sitting back and hanging out with me. If you enjoyed today's video, then YouTube will recommend a video that you might like just as much. Thank you guys, take care, and I'll see you next weekend.